Incoming transmission from Starfleet Toy Fans, I'm D21Beast and welcome back to my figure review series here on my YouTube channel. And today we're once again going boldly where no one has gone before. You know it, we've got another Star Trek review for you guys here today. And this time we're looking at the Star Trek The Next Generation Lieutenant Worf figure from Diamond Select, released in 2015. Now if you guys have seen my previous Star Trek reviews, you'll know that I've collected quite a few of those Art Asylum Diamond Select figures that were released around the mid to late 2000s. I'm a huge fan of those Star Trek figures that were originally created by Art Asylum and later carried on by Diamond Select after they acquired the company. Since Diamond has returned to making these figures, they've focused more on display rather than articulation. I'm really curious to see how I'm going to like that once I get this guy out of the box. Let's go ahead and get things started by taking a look at the packaging for Mr. Worf. As you come down the front of the box, you do have a very large blister bubble packaging that does house this Worf figure inside, as well as his accessories. On the left-hand side, you do have the name for the figure, as well as the name for Star Trek The Next Generation in the original series font. Then towards the bottom, you do have an image of the Enterprise D, which was featured on the TV series Star Trek The Next Generation. As you flip this package around, you can see an image here on the side of Worf from Season 7 of the TV show. And then on the back, we do have a bio for Lieutenant Worf. Go ahead and take a moment to pause now and read that. Then we have the logo for Star Trek off to the left, and then we have an image of Worf in the upper right with all the different display options. And then towards the bottom, we do have other figures currently available from this set. Alright crewmen, that's the packaging. Let's say we get this warrior out of the box and see what he's all about. Alright toy fans, here we have Worf out of the box, and on initial inspection, I actually like this figure a little bit better than I thought I would, now that I have my hands on it. Let's go ahead and start by taking a look at the paintwork and sculpting on this Worf figure, and then we'll compare him to the original Worf release that we got from Art Asylum and Diamond Select almost 10 years ago. So looking at the Worf's head sculpt here, you can see that he does have a nice likeness to actor Michael Dorn. There's some nice sculpt work on the forehead and on the face. And then we have the same sort of nice sculpting on the hair with all the different lines of the hair sculpted in there and even the hair tie. Worf's baldric is actually sculpted very nicely. Looks just like it did on the show. Even has the extra detail there inside the pins on the baldric. And then you can see all these fabric sculpting details all over the figure. Wrinkles everywhere that really sell the idea that this is a fabric outfit. And then the paintwork's actually pretty nice overall. We've got sort of a glossier paint on the shoes and then a more of a matte paint on the pants and on the arms. You can see here that there's even sort of some metallic paint here on the comm badge, the same kind that's used on the baldric here. And then really, you get a couple of spots like on the shoulder here with some paint slop, but overall I think the figure looks very, very good painting-wise. So I think they did great there. Now let's kind of talk about the shortcomings of the figure, at least initially here. You'll notice that he has this accessory in his hands that's a phaser rifle. And the first thing I noticed once I got this guy out of the box is that that phaser rifle does not look like the phaser rifle advertised on the back of the box. As you take a look at the box here, you're going to see that this phaser rifle has a scope that's actually mounted on the phaser rifle. The Worf that came out of the box actually doesn't have that scope accessory on the rifle, and I'm not sure why they chose to omit that, especially considering almost 10 years ago, we got another phaser rifle with the original Worf that actually had the scope intact. Now on the one hand, I like that this scope is missing from the phaser rifle because that means that they did actually do brand new sculpts for the accessories for this figure and didn't reuse anything from the original releases. But at the same time, if they already had a version of the rifle with the scope, why didn't they include that with the Worf figure? This is usually raised on the show anyway. Maybe it's a minor quibble, but I just kind of miss that it's missing from the accessory. Now let's go ahead and bring in this Worf figure from 2006. One thing I want to note about the Worfs right away is that I really like the detail that this Worf figure had on his forehead. You can see here that there's all sorts of paint shading inside the ridges, and even the eyes I think look very nice. When you compare him to this Worf here, it just seems a little more flat. So I kind of miss that we didn't get as much paint detail on the new Worf figure that we got on the old Worf figure. But then as we look at the figure overall, sculpting-wise, it's pretty comparable outside of that. And I do like that the gold tone of the 2015 Worf's uniform looks more screen accurate than that of the original 2006 figure we received from Art Asylum and Diamond Select. Now let's move on to accessories. Lieutenant Worf comes with all the accessories that you see here. The first thing I want to mention is that the phaser rifle that's in Worf's hands is actually removable. His hands are made of a soft, pliable plastic, and you can just go ahead and slide out the accessory out of his hands. And as we look at this phaser rifle here, you see that it is painted very nicely with black in all the appropriate places, and really that's the only sort of paint detail we've got. And let's go ahead and compare it to the original phaser rifle accessory we got from the Art Asylum Diamond Select figures. You'll notice that the sculpt work is definitely different, especially on the phaser head there, and there's definitely some more airbrushing and paint detailing going on with this other phaser rifle that we got in the past versus this one that we got here. But I do think that this phaser rifle is nice overall, and it's also worth noting that it's just a tad bit smaller in scale than the phaser rifle that we originally got all those years ago. Moving on to the hand accessories that you see here, Worf has interchangeable hands. Now every one of these arms that Worf comes with, the hands are easily removable. You just give them a little tug and they come out very, very easily. Actually, a lot easier than the original Art Asylum Diamond Select figures, and that's definitely a plus for this guy. Because every time you pulled the hands out of those old Art Asylum Star Trek figures, you're always worried that you were going to break the pegs the hands were on. Now this Worf hand actually has a phaser accessory molded into the hand that is not removable. And it's worth noting too that that phaser accessory is actually different from the original Type 2 phaser accessory we got with the Art Asylum figures all those years ago. Again, there's more paint detail on this item, as you can see as we look at the top of the phaser, but the phaser is sculpted very nicely, and it scale-wise is a little bit smaller again than the phaser we have on the right, so that's just interesting to note as well. Then you're going to see that we have these different sets of arms. So the arms that are in the Worf right now obviously held that phaser rifle that we already looked at, but it's pretty easy to go ahead and pull the arms off of this Worf figure. You just give them a little tug and they come right out. And as you look at the arms, you're going to see up close that each one is detailed to let you know that it's a left arm and it's set number 1. So when I pull off this other arm, if I get it mixed up with the other arms that are down below this Worf figure, I will always know which arms are supposed to go together so I can have the arms holding the correct accessory later on. But let's go ahead and move on to the second set of arm accessories that we have here. We're going to move to these ones. We have the 3L. We're going to pop this into the figure. This is actually my favorite set of arms that I'm about to put on the Worf of the ones that he has. As you plug these in, you can see that he's kind of in an attack stance. And then if you grab one of these bat lifts, of which Worf comes with 2, you can slide this into his bottom hand. Just kind of work it in here. And then Worf is actually able to be posed in his sort of Klingon calisthenics pose that you see him doing on the show every time he's practicing with his bat lift. And of course you can set it to your liking, but generally speaking, that's how the figure is going to look. And I think that's a great look for the figure overall. Let's go ahead and quickly compare this bat lift to the one we got previously with the Klang figure I've already reviewed. Pulling in the Klang figure bat lift, it's interesting to note that Klang's bat lift is actually larger than Worf's bat lift, which again is seeming to be the case with all of the accessories of this Worf figure. I honestly thought that this Worf figure would have the exact same accessory, but he doesn't. And if you try to hold this bat lift up to Worf, it does actually look a little bit bigger than it's supposed to. So I'm glad that they've scaled the accessories appropriately for this Worf figure. Now let's go ahead and switch out the other set of arms. Again, you just give them a little bit of a tug, and they come out very easily. And we'll go ahead and put in that last set of arms. And it just goes in on the side here. So this Worf is actually designed, or these arms are designed, to hold the bat lift in an attack position. There we go, and now Worf is ready to strike with his bat lift. But maybe you're a fan of Season 4 and 5 Worf, and you don't like Worf with a ponytail. Let's go ahead and pull his head off. It just comes out very nicely. And you can pop in the Season 4, Season 5 head Worf. So I think that's a really nice look too. Worf with his shorter hair, in the uniform that you're used to seeing him in the middle of the series. Finally, let's go ahead and get Worf's hands changed out. We're going to pull this bat lift out. It comes out very nicely. Again, the fingers are very soft. The first time I used this guy, I was worried that the hands were going to be as hard as they are in the original Art Asylum release, but they're just not. They actually interchange very, very nicely. Let's go ahead and pull out this hand, and now I can put in the hand with the phaser and have Worf sort of in an attack stance or ready to strike somebody with just a smaller phaser accessory. So really, I enjoy the way that these hands and these arms interchange. For not having any articulation with the figure, you do get a surprising number of movement combinations with the arms that this figure comes included with. But these legs don't move at all. There's no articulation to that, so your Worf's always going to be in this sort of attack stance. He's never going to have a neutral position like the original Worf figure release had. Finally, let's go ahead and get to the last thing that this Worf comes with. Worf has this display stand, and as you can see here, there are pegs on either side of this display stand, and Worf has holes in the bottom of his feet, so you can go ahead and plug in his heels to this display stand, and Worf actually stays on the display stand very, very nicely. Now this display stand also comes with another piece to it, a cardboard insert that actually has the Klingon emblem on the back. Now the one thing that's strange about this stand is that it doesn't appear to have any clips on the back. As I flip it around, it is completely flush on the back, and there's no adhesive to this card. So you just kind of have to rest the card against the display stand if that's how you want to display your Worf figure. I do wish that there was some sort of clasp or grip that would hold on to that card so that I didn't have to worry about the stand falling apart as I had Worf on display, but it does look nice once you get it positioned behind him. It's also curious to note that the reverse side of this has an upside down Klingon emblem. It's almost like somebody at Diamond Select wasn't sure how it's supposed to go, so they just did both to hit their bases. Let's go ahead and take a look at the height for this Worf figure. He does come in right about 7.5 inches tall. For some size comparison, here we have the 2015 Diamond Select Worf compared to the original Art Asylum Diamond Select Worf from 2006. Here he is compared to the Star Trek Enterprise Captain Klang figure released by Art Asylum in 2002. And here he is compared to the average-heighted Art Asylum Diamond Select Star Trek The Next Generation Captain Picard figure. Just for fun, here he is compared to a couple of the 90s Worf figures from Playmates. And finally, here he is compared to the 6-inch scale Marvel Legends Infinite Series Wolverine. Alright, toy fans, well that's my review of the Art Asylum Lieutenant Worf figure from Star Trek The Next Generation, released by Diamond Select in 2015. Overall, I've got a lot of mixed feelings about this guy. I do like this Worf figure better than I thought I would now that I've had a chance to mess with him. It's really nice having all the interchangeable parts. I mean, he really is a Worf Star Trek masher type of toy, which is kind of funny. He also has an excellent amount of accessories included with him as well. He even has a display base, although I do wish the card backing would actually stick to it. But speaking as somebody who enjoys articulated figures, I do find this figure lacking overall. And I also wish that the paint detail, especially on the face of this figure, was as detailed as what we got with the original 2006 release all those years ago. If you're a fan of Star Trek, statues, and non-articulated figures, you're probably going to enjoy this guy. However, if you're like me and you prefer having some posability to your figures, you may be a bit disappointed. I'm definitely happy I've had a chance to get a hands-on with this figure, but I'm probably not going to rush out and buy the next one in the line, unless they happen to make a character I really enjoy. Well, thanks for watching this review, guys. I hope you enjoy it. If you like what you saw here, please feel free to rate, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Kapla! Hey, toy fans! Did you watch this review of Lieutenant Worf and find yourself wanting to know more? Well, Star Trek actually streams on Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon, so take a look at these suggested episodes to learn more about this great character.